welcome to another episode of Build the RedBull RB7. Today we have issue 26 where we'll be applying the right front shock absorber to our RedBull RB7, okay, and also applying the washer to our shock absorber that we received in issue 4. In the magazine today, we've got Alan Prost's 4th title. Okay, the 93 championship. Alan Prost, known as the Professor. Okay, a bit here on Prost's Williams. The parts list for today and our instructions. There's quite a few instructions for this week's issue, but it'll be a great build nonetheless. Okay guys, so let's get stuck into building. Okay, first off, you're going to need a container or such to drain the oil in. I know the book says to try and drain it back into the bottle, but since I have enough supply here, I just drained it into a container. If you guys need more oil, just send me a message and I can send you a bottle of oil. Okay, so basically we all know how to disassemble it, alright? So here's our fun little bundle of joy of parts. Okay, so after you've drained out your oil, you should receive your shock shaft, your piston, and your E-rings. Okay, now in issue 4, these were already pre-assembled, where in issue 26 today, we have to assemble that ourselves. Okay, so first off, okay, we've got a 5mm washer here. We're just going to place that over our shock shaft, okay? So you can see here you've got the E-ring. Okay, you don't take the E-ring off, you just place it straight over like that. Okay. Now grab your shock case, remove the base of it, and then slide your shock shaft through the shock case, okay, and pull it through the other end. Now what you're going to want to do is grab some pliers, okay. The forum recommends smooth surfaced pliers. If you don't have access to a smooth surface pliers, you can also cut off bits of rubber and either glue it onto there, or you can tape it if you want to not damage your shock shaft, okay. But this is one of 6, okay, so it doesn't really affect me that great deal. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place that in there to hold the shock shaft, and we are going to grab our ball end and we're going to feed that onto there. Okay, now grab out your metal ruler. Now we're working in millimeters here, guys, so at the moment that's about 8mm. Okay, I'm not really after 8mm here, so I'm just going to reduce a little bit and try and take it back to 9. A little bit more. There we go. So now that we've got a 9mm spacing, okay, between our shock case and our ball end. Now, what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to grab a rim, grab your shock oil and fill it up halfway. Alright, and then give it a good little pump. As you can see, all the bubbles are coming to the surface. Okay, just add a little bit more in. Okay, but we're not filling it up all the way yet, okay? So just pump for maybe 2 minutes or so. Going all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top, and back again. If you pump too quick, it will squirt out. So just be careful of that. Alright, and then once it's full of bubbles, stick it in your rim. Okay, and then leave it. Then set it aside. And now, as you guys can see here, I've got 5 and 7. Alright, they're the spacings between the shock case and the ball end, okay, of the shock shaft. 5mm spacing, 7mm spacing, and 9mm spacings. Okay, so that'll allow me to adjust the heights, so to say, without actually taking the whole spring assembly apart. I'll just swap the springs over. So I'll have them set up. At the moment, it's just a whiteboard marker, so they'll come off the rims. Later on, I'll get a case set up for them. The magazine says to leave the shock upright for 2 to 4 hours until no bubbles are seen in it. Okay, so it's been about 2 hours or so. Now it's time to prep up the rest of the shock build. So now we're just going to grab the base of the shock case and the shock top. Okay, now we're going to place the shock top back through the shock case. Alright, ensuring that it sits nice and level. Now we'll put that off to the side. Now we're going to need our diaphragm. Put that off the side. Okay, so now that we've got our parts ready, we're going to take our shock out of the rim and we're going to fill it to the top with oil. Okay, grab your diaphragm, flip it over and drop it curved side down. Okay, we've done this before, so you guys should be pretty familiar with it. Now I've placed way too much oil in there and it's overflowing. But anyway, grab the base of your shock case, feed it on there, and spin it around nice and tightly. Now grab an old rag or some tissues and just try and dry off any oil that's left behind. Now tip here is, grab your pliers and actually grab your shock case and then grab an Allen key and pop it in the shock top and use that to tighten it up. It won't tighten it up too much, but it'll just add that little bit more nonetheless. And also too, that's handy using the Allen key when loosening it too. I know I had a bit of difficulty when I was trying to undo it. You could either use your screwdriver or you can use an Allen key. Also too, it was very, very messy. I had oil absolutely everywhere. Okay, I got 2 shocks today in the issues, but I have 4 shock absorbers previously assembled, and oil just went everywhere. All the parts were covered in oil. It was just horrible. Now we're going to apply our upper shock holder. Slide that to the base. Now we're going to grab our spring, give it a bit of a push down. Okay. And there we go. Now we're going to grab our spring holder, or our lower spring holder. And then it's just a matter of fact of just pushing the spring down and trying to get it underneath the shock top so it sits nice and flush. Okay, you'll know if you get it right because the lower shock holder will sit flush with the rim, with the spring, and with the shock top. Okay. So if you guys have more than one set of shock absorbers, this is handy to set up. Okay, so if you've only got one, just think, you're going to be taking it apart. You have to take the spring, the upper shock holders, get your pliers out just to adjust the compression of the springs, okay, for the right height. Once we get the track rods and we get the correct guidance of where the wheel's going to sit, then we can play with the spring heights here, and then I'll let you guys know which one's the best spring heights to use. Okay, Now, if you haven't taken your one apart and you're just building this one, first off we're just going to start with this shock shaft, and we're going to need an E-ring. The book suggests to use pliers, you can use tweezers. Okay, so we've got our first E-ring, okay, onto our shock shaft. So next we're going to grab the piston. Now you can see on one side they got little mold grooves, and on the other side it's smooth. Okay, so we're going to put the smooth side facing towards the back, or facing towards the E-ring. Okay, and now next up, okay, and grab your E-ring and clip it on like so. Okay, so that's where issue 4 had us starting from. Okay, in issue 26 today, we had to build that. So then once we do that, same process I just went through with you guys. Okay, we've got our front chassis, and now we're grabbing the two 7mm front shock absorbers. Okay, we're going to start by clipping in the pillow balls into this end of the shock. Okay, now grab the screw that you removed, place it through there, and then screw the pillow ball and the shock absorber to the chassis of your car. Okay, now at this stage don't clip it on, but repeat the process with the other shock absorber. Okay, now finally, make sure that your shock tops are the same way around, and then clip them down onto the ball-headed screws. Okay, now this completes the shock absorber assembly to the front of the RedBull RB7. Okay guys, so that's issue 26 of Build the RedBull RB7 for this week. Okay, next week we've got our right knuckle arm. I've got to wait for my subscription to turn up for my next 2 washers before I put these shocks together, but as I said, I'll have a 5mm, 7mm and a 9mm setting, so I'm not always taking the shocks apart. I'll just have fixed measurements for them. If you guys need, as I said, any shock oil, just message me on YouTube and I'll be happy to help you guys out. Okay guys, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.